Ideas don't need tanks. They don't need missiles. Sometimes all they need is enough people willing to believe them. Welcome back. When people hear the word Cuba, many think of classic cars, cigars, old buildings, or a tropical island frozen in time. I think of home. I think of a country my family was forced to leave. Let me show you. Havana, Cuba, back in the 50s. And let me show you again Havana, Cuba, 65 years later. The buildings are falling apart. There's trash everywhere. And it's really sad. I wasn't reading about communists in history books. I lived the consequences. My family escaped Cuba in a small 12-foot fiberglass rowboat in 1977 because staying meant accepting a future we no longer believed in. So think about that for a second. That's why I believe Cuba still matters, because history has a way of warning us if we're willing to pay attention. Whether you agree with Fidel Castro or oppose everything he stood for, there is value in studying how he thought. History isn't just about celebrating our allies or condemning our enemies. It's about understanding them. Castro understood something many military leaders have also recognized. Military power alone cannot win an ideological battle. He believed ideas, propaganda, education, influence, and public opinion could be just as powerful as an army. I reject Castro's dictatorship. I reject the imprisonment of political opponents. My dad was a political prisoner. I reject the censorship. I reject the suffering that the generation of Cubans have endured. But rejecting a man doesn't mean refusing to study him. One lesson stands out to me. You can't bomb a country into democracy. History has repeatedly shown us that removing a dictatorship is often easier than building a free society. Democracy isn't created by missiles or military victories alone. It depends on institution, the rule of law, economic opportunity, freedom of speech, and citizens willing to defend those freedoms. Education was reshaped to reinforce loyalty to the revolution. The media became an instrument of the state, much like we're seeing here in the USA. Generations after generation was taught a single political narrative. Over time, public opinion wasn't simply influenced, it was carefully managed. These are lessons worth studying, not because we should admire them, but because we should recognize how powerful ideas can be. Cuba's an important location in the Western Hemisphere. It's maintained close relationship with countries such as Russia and, in recent years, China. U.S. officials, including Senator Marco Rubio, have repeatedly warned us about Cuba's government, intelligence activities as its value and strategic partner to American adversaries. Study the history, listen to different perspectives, then make up your own mind. For me, Cuba isn't just part of my past. It's a reminder that ideas matter, government matter, freedoms matter, and history only teaches those who are willing to learn from it. The question isn't whether America is becoming Cuba. The question is whether we are paying attention to how ideas are spread. Fidel Castro didn't wake up one morning with a total control of Cuba. He did not. He built influence. He built a movement. He changed culture. He changed education. He changed public opinion. Eventually, the politics followed. That's why ideas matter. One of the fastest growing political organizations inside the Democratic Party is the Democratic Socialists of America, aka Communist. And they have our youngsters. Today is one of the fastest growing political organizations inside the Democratic Party, the Communist Party. Whether you support them or oppose them, that isn't the point of this episode. My goal isn't to tell you what to think. My goal is to encourage you to know what they believe in using their own words. This is the guy who's running for Senate. Defund movement is about. That was June 2020, later deleted. This one in 2026, ICE is not about immigrants. ICE is about the southern border. ICE is about normalizing paramilitary forces on our street. It cannot be reformed. It must be abolished. You need to study them. Just like we study Castro. For years, the Democratic Party described itself as a big tent. That meant moderates, liberal, progressive, Democrats, socialists, aka communists, everybody working together under the same banner. But today, the coalition is beginning to fracture. DSA is not the Democrats, and some Democrats are not DSA. Now let's head to Michigan. If you want to see the battle for the future of the Democratic Party, don't look to Washington. Just look at Michigan. It's not just another Senate race. It's becoming a fight between the Democratic establishment and the progressive wing, a contest many political observers see as a test of where the party is headed. For years, Democrats built what they often called a Big Ten coalition. Today, that coalition is showing signs of restraint. Moderates and progressives are incredibly divided over policy, campaign strategy, and the party direction. One of the center figures in that debate is Dr. Abdul Salam. His supporters sees him as a reformer willing to challenge the party establishment. His critics argue that his platform is too far left for battleground state like Michigan. Those disagreements have made this one of the most closely watched Democratic primaries in the country. From my perspective, this race raises a large question. What happens when candidates campaign on broad promises about affordability, healthcare, fairness, while their past statements or policy positions reveal broader ideology agenda? That's something every voter should examine carefully. I also think voters should ask another question. If higher taxes are proposed on wealthy individuals and businesses, what happens when those taxpayers relocate? They will have no choice but to tax the middle class. We all know the rich vote with their feet. They are part of the problem, in my opinion. They don't like the tax hikes, so they leave instead of voting them out. In many cases, they create and vote for their progressive candidate, and then they act shocked when their candidate changes the tune or policies and go after them. That debate is worth having, based on evidence rather than assumptions. For me, this isn't just about Michigan. It's about whether the Democratic Party can hold together a coalition that includes moderates, progressives, Democratic socialists, and others with very different vision for the country's future. The outcome of races like this may shape not only the party, but national policies in the years ahead. Now let's go to Wisconsin, a purple state, a progressive platform. Wisconsin isn't California. Never thought that Wisconsin was so divided, but I guess it is. This is in New York. It's one of the most competitive swing states in America. Trump won it twice. Every election is fought for. Every vote matters. That's why statewide candidates usually try to build a broad coalition that includes independent, moderates, and voters from both parties. So, why campaign as though you're running in one of the bluest districts in the country? That question matters. Here's Francesca. Police exist to uphold white supremacy. We must collectively work to end the violence and establish a police state. Reform has never been the answer. What word do these people have in common? Abolish. They want to abolish, abolish, abolish. It makes me wonder what's the long-term objective really is. Is the goal to win statewide election, or is it to build a political following for a future campaign or a more favorable district? Another possibility is that some candidates backed by organizations like the Democratic Socialists of America, aka communists, believe staying true to their ideology is more important than broadening their appeal to independent or moderate voters. While there's nothing wrong with holding strong convictions statewide, elections are won by building coalition, not just energizing the political base. If candidates isn't willing to adapt their campaign to the reality of a purple state, it raises an important question. Is the priority of winning the election or simply promoting a particular ideology? Those are questions every voter should consider before casting a ballot. Which brings me back to one of the most talked about progressive candidate in the country is who else? Mandani. His campaign attracted a great deal of enthusiasm, particularly among younger and progressive voters. He spoke about affordability, housing, healthcare, economic fairness, issues that resonated with many people struggling with the rising cost of living. We get that. These youngsters were scammed. They went to college for 4 years. Nobody forgot their student loans, but now they can't even get a job. So when somebody like this comes along, a sweet talker, just like the guy in Michigan, these youngsters are like, yeah, I want free shit. Where do I sign up? But supporters viewed him as someone willing to change the political establishment. I started noticing something very interesting. Some people who supported candidates like Mandani have publicly expressed second thoughts or concerns after learning more about his specific policy proposal, are seeing a certain idea might be implemented. Oh my God, I'm shocked. I voted for him. How could he do this to us? Others remain fully supportive and continue to believe his vision is in the right direction. That's how democracy works. People have the right to change their mind or stand by their decisions. But it's worth asking an important question. Did every voter fully understand the broader agenda they were supporting? That's not a question directed only at one candidate or an election. It's a question every voter should ask before casting a ballot. When we vote, are we voting for personality? A slogan? A single issue? Or are we taking time to understand the complete platform, the candidate's past statements, and the philosophy that guides their decision once they are in office? For me, that's the lesson. Whether candidates is on the left, the right, or somewhere in between, informed voters are the key to democracy. The more we understand the idea behind the campaign, not just the campaign itself, the better decision we can make at the ballot box. They have never been oppressed. I escaped one country where ideology became more important than the freedom. I don't ever want to see Americans stop debating ideas simply because they're politically popular. As a Cuban refugee, I know what it is to lose a country. I know what it's like to leave behind your home, your family, your memories, and everything you ever known because the government became more important than the people they were supposed to serve. Understanding an adversary is an endorsement, it's preparation. I talk about candidates in Wisconsin, Michigan, and New York because election matters. Ideas become policies, policies become laws, and laws shape the future of the nation. I hope this episode inspires you to do one thing: read, research, question everything, including what I've said here today. Don't rely on headlines, especially the fake news. They lied to us about Fauci. Trust the science. These people will lie about anything to push their agenda. Don't rely on social media. Don't rely on political parties. Go to the original source. Read their platforms. Watch their interviews. Study history. Because freedom isn't lost overnight. It disappears one decision, one law, one generation at a time. Until next time, I'm Barbie. And remember, truth doesn't fear question, only lies do. Thank you guys, and have a great day. Till next time.